You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be a CPA. And sometimes not being a numbers person gives you an advantage in doing financial analysis because you can really, you can focus on the notes. You can focus on the explanations. You can focus on the assumptions that everything's based on. And if all of that's a bunch of BS, I don't care if the numbers add up. I know the numbers aren't real.
Welcome to the Profit Answer Man podcast, where business owners learn to scale their profits and cash flow and work less doing it. You built your business to fulfill your dreams and serve your mission. You're the backbone of America, creating the jobs and opportunities that keep our economy moving. And for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. We're Profit First certified. It's the first baby step in a journey we take our clients on, building cash-rich, margin-strong businesses that don't suck the life out of you. Check out the first 13 episodes of the podcast. It's Mike Michalowicz and my review of each chapter of the Profit First book. Around here, we speak cash flow, profit, and practical execution. No accounting jargon, no fluff. Most accountants, they might help you save on taxes, but they'll crush your cash flow and make you look unprofitable. That's not just a poor decision, it's a liability. We help you focus on what you love. And when we partner together, we become a profit center for your business. If we don't deliver a massive ROI on your investment in us, fire us. Want to see how it all works? Watch the video version on YouTube or head over to ProfitComesFirst.com to grab your free copy of the Profit Blueprint book and start making profit a habit. You built this business to serve your mission and your freedom. Let's make sure it pays you back big. Today, we're talking Profit First again with another Profit First professional. And while his book is geared to lawyers, the themes apply to all of us and to all businesses. And we're going to cover new topics that we haven't talked about before. By the way, this episode and all the others are on YouTube. So if you want to hear RJon scream and look at his facials, you can. You can see my reactions too. I assure you, you're going to enjoy this. We're going to have a little bit of excitement with our guest today. RJon Robins is an 8-figure entrepreneur, licensed attorney, and best-selling author. He founded How to Manage a Small Law Firm at his kitchen table while flat broke in 2009. He has since achieved 8,000% revenue growth and now has over 600 of the fastest growing small law firm owners in the country as members. He operates in multiple countries, works in the business about 90 days a year, and spends the other 170 workdays launching new and profitable business ventures. Okay? We don't have to grind it out, people. Let's have fun. He speaks to thousands of law firms annually, and today he's going to speak to us. Let's meet him. Get ready to be excited. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, RJon Robins. It's great to have you join us today.
Thank you, Rocky, for inviting me. I'm happy to be here finally.
Excited for the conversation. Can you quickly share a little bit about yourself and your business?
I've got multiple different businesses. They all serve the same basic target audience, which is owners of small law firms. In other words, entrepreneurs whose businesses all happen to be small law firms. We also have a CFO service. We have a controllership service. We have a bookkeeping service, all designed to serve the needs of the same target audience. So there's different businesses, but they all serve the same customer.
And you are an attorney too, correct?
Yeah. The other day I was, I don't remember where I was, and someone asked me that, and I had to stop and think for a second. I'm like, yes, I am an attorney. I forgot about that. It's been so long since I practiced. But yes, I do have a bar license, and I have to keep up with my CLE credits and everything because I didn't go through all that trouble to let my bar license lapse.
It's funny. Half of attorneys don't practice law. That's life, right? So you're also the author of Profit First for, it says lawyers, right? Not attorneys. Okay. So let's talk about that because you and I have something that I see very few people talk about. And that is the different types of accountants and how they behave. So let's start with the different kinds of accountants, just so everyone is clear. Because what I find is most business owners think they call their accountant, they're going to get good financial advice on how to run their business.
No. Don't do that. It's like calling a real estate lawyer when you've been charged with a crime. It's like asking a criminal defense lawyer for advice if you're having a problem and you need a divorce. It's like asking a family law attorney for help if you need to buy a business. I mean, not all lawyers are created equally, and any self-respecting lawyer who is honest will be very forthcoming about this with their clients. Even amongst family law attorneys, there's family law attorneys who really focus on high net worth families and who are going through high net worth divorces versus low net worth. And, I could go practice area by practice area. You get the idea. Yeah. Accountants. All right. Where do I begin? And with respect, I know your wife's a CPA, so,
Have at it.
Sorry, Mrs. Rocky.
Let's just explain the different types and what they're good at and what they're not good at.
Yeah. Okay. So financial accountants, management accountants, two very, very different animals, right? And you hire a financial accountant when what you're looking for is a management accountant at your great peril. And this is precisely the mistake that most struggling business owners make over and over and over and over again. All management accountants, most management accountants are financial accountants. Very few financial accountants are also management accountants. Very important to understand this. So what's the difference? A financial accountant looks at your financials as if they're looking through the rearview mirror. This is what has already happened, for which we need to now account for. We need to account for revenue that has come in the past. We need to account for expenses that have been incurred in the past. And we need to make sure that we are in compliance with all the rules and regulations because of conduct and things that have happened in the past. That is a financial accountant. This is the person you're going to go to usually to help you with your tax preparation. A management accountant is a very different animal. A management accountant is sitting in the passenger seat next to you, looking at the map, looking at the GPS, helping you anticipate what's coming up, helping you plan for, helping you anticipate, giving you options, weighing pros and cons. Management accountants are looking forward. Financial accountants are looking backward. The problem is when you go to a financial accountant, a person who's looking backward, and you say, help me plan my future. Help me make plans for the year ahead. Most financial accountants, they know like a smidge. They know a smidge about management accounting, enough to sound a lot smarter than most of their clients, but not enough to actually do you any real good. So inadvertently, I say, giving them the benefit of the doubt, what they end up doing is screwing you because you think you're getting management accounting advice, but what you're really getting is garbage. And so they end up telling you all of the things you need to do to be in compliance and all the things you need to do to not break any of the rules and all the things you need to do to not run any quote unquote risks. And of course, I'm putting these all in, air quotes because these are subjective advice they're giving you. But what they're not really doing is helping you by saying, how much income do you want to take out of this business 24 months from now? Let's make a plan to get you there. Management accountants will say, how much income do you want to be taking out of this business 12 months from now, 24 months from now, 36 months from now? How much do you want this business to be worth 12 months from now, 24 months from now, 36 months from now? Let's make a plan to get you there. That's what management accountants do. Very big difference.
Do you find most small accounting firms or tax firms have management accountants in their offices?
I find that most small accounting firms most small tax firms don't even really understand what management accounting is because it's not required. They're not required to study. It is an elective of an elective of an elective of a subset that most of them are not even acquainted with. So the answer is no.
And I'm not surprised about it. I have
pretty strong feelings about this, if you hadn't noticed.
I appreciate that because very few people do.
Well, that's because most people don't even realize how bad they've been screwed. If they understood how bad they've been screwed, if you just open your eyes, put a light on it, and you see it, then you understand how bad you're getting screwed, then you'll have strong feelings about it too. If you go and survey 10,000 small business owners, and they're not all ranting and raving like me, it's because they don't realize what has been happening to 9,999 of them. Ignorance is bliss. What can I say? If they weren't so ignorant about what's been happening, no offense to them, but their accountant should be telling them, they wouldn't be so blissful.
Well, I don't think they're blissful. I just don't think they know what to ask for. They don't know.
They're oblivious.
They don't know what to ask for. And
they don't know what to ask for, and their accountant doesn't tell them what they should ask for.
Well, because the accountant doesn't know.
The accountant should know. Here's an idea. Read my book. It's all in here. And even if you're not a lawyer, read my book. It's all in here. Just take lawyer out of it.
Now, in the book, you say they took an oath against you. Can you explain that?
Oh, your CPA is not on your side. Your CPA has sworn an oath against you. Now, this is something that's really hard for lawyers to understand because lawyers, we swear an oath of loyalty to our clients. And so lawyers go around thinking that, every professional has an oath of loyalty to their client, but that's not true. Let me just read something from my book. It might make more sense. Here's the state of Florida oath of admission for attorneys. I'm licensed in Florida, but this is materially the same in any state you look at. All right. A lawyer, as a member of the legal profession, is a representative of the client, an officer of the legal system, and a public citizen having special responsibility for the quality of justice. As a representative of clients, as a representative of their clients, a lawyer performs various functions. As an advisor to their clients, a lawyer provides a client with an informed understanding of the client's legal rights and obligations and explains their practical implications. As an advocate of their clients, a lawyer zealously asserts the client's position under the rules of the adversary system. As a negotiator on behalf of their clients, a lawyer seeks a result advantageous to the client, but consistent with requirements of honest dealings and others. As an evaluator, a lawyer acts by examining a client's legal affairs and reporting about them to the client or to others. Now compare that to the oath that your CPA took. This is straight out of the
2 pages.
Yes, this is straight out of the AICPA Code of Professional Conduct. Members of the AICPA, in other words, your CPA, should accept the obligation to act in a way that will serve the public interest, honor the public trust, and demonstrate a commitment to professionalism. Doesn't say one word about the client. It's all about representing the public. A distinguishing mark of a profession is acceptance of its responsibility to the public, not to the client, to the public. So you're hiring a CPA who has sworn an oath to look out for the public, not to look out for you. The accounting profession's public, here's where it gets really good. The accounting profession's public consists of clients, creditors, governments, employers, investors, the business and financial community, and others who rely on the objectivity and integrity of the CPA to maintain blah, 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 blah. So in other words, your CPA has an obligation, has sworn an oath to look out for your creditors. I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's like I've been accused of a crime and I'm gonna hire the prosecutor to represent me.
You know what's funny? In other countries, they're required to have good bookkeepers and good books, and they have to actually make sure that they meet the standards. Whereas in the US, anyone can do bookkeeping, and there are no standards.
Oh, don't even get me started on these QuickBooks operators who know how to operate QuickBooks.
Do they?
They read the software manual. They know how to operate the software, and they hold themselves out as bookkeepers.
How do you feel about them?
We don't have enough time on one episode.
Here's what I've noticed. I think
there's a reason why my bookkeeping business, which by the way is the largest bookkeeping business in the legal industry, we generate over $1 million a year in revenue, and we have a waiting list like 6 months long. And the name of the business is Small Law Firm Bookkeeping That Doesn't Suck. That's the name of my bookkeeping business because it says it all. Because most small law firm bookkeepers, not all, there's some good ones, but most of them suck. And it's not because they're doing it inaccurately. I mean, the numbers add up. It's just that the reports they give are garbage. The insight is non-existent. It's terrible. They're like driving down the street and I just take a gallon of milk and I splash it all over the windshield inside the car and say, keep driving.
So the way we do things is a little different. We take their bookkeeping as they do it, because I don't even want to talk to them. And then I rearrange it so that when we look at it with the business owner, they actually understand what's going on and they can see the real results because we pull out what is relevant and we put it in a format that matters. And I don't care what the bookkeeper does because it always goes to the same standard.
I didn't try to start a bookkeeping business. I tried not to start a bookkeeping business. I tried I had a $10 million business of my own before I started a bookkeeping business. I had a whole separate $10 million business just doing CEO services, COO services, and CFO services for small law firms before I started a bookkeeping business. I tried to find enough good bookkeepers to refer business to all of them. Couldn't find enough to keep up with. I mean, we manage over 500 law firms. Then we tried offering free courses. We said to our clients, bring your bookkeeper to this course. We will teach them for free how to do the job that you need done so that we can get good financials so we can do our job. They couldn't get their bookkeepers to come to a course for free to learn how to do a better job for their clients. So finally, we just gave up and said, you know what? Screw it. We'll start our own bookkeeping business. Now we got a multi-million-dollar bookkeeping business that I never wanted in the first place.
Since we're ranting, let's rant about GAAP accounting. And for most of you who don't even know, it's generally accepted accounting principles. What do you think about it?
What about GAAP?
I'm sure you love it. Maybe you've got a rant against it.
I ranted all about GAAP in the book. I'm going to save that for another day. Look, GAAP, I've heard lots of episodes of your podcast all making the same point. GAAP was not meant for small business owners. If you study your history and you understand the origins of GAAP, you'll understand GAAP was a giant exercise in compromise. It was just a giant exercise in compromise back in the 1930s. It's been updated and changed. They keep trying to fix it and make it less horrible every year since. And it is not designed for small business owners. It just was never meant for small business owners. And when you apply GAAP to a small business, it's like feeding ice cream and gelatin to a thoroughbred horse. You know, the thoroughbred horse is going to get sick. It's not what the thoroughbred horse needs to be eating for a healthy, productive lifestyle. When you feed GAAP to a small business, you are making the small business sick.
And unfortunately, if they want to go to the bank and get a loan or get financing or raise capital, they have to create these reports for that purpose, but that's not for running their business.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to say, Rocky, is running your business on GAAP versus running your business on a more rational, profitable bookkeeping approach, and then just producing GAAP compliant reports for your bank when the bank requires GAAP compliant reports. It's perfectly legal. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing unethical about it. Just because your bank says, show this to me in GAAP, doesn't mean you have to manage your business in GAAP. You can manage your business on profit first. You should manage your business on profit first. And then when your bank says, give me the report, you just translate it into GAAP. It's like if you speak Spanish at home as your first language, and sometimes you need to translate things into French, right? Don't try to speak a language you don't speak just because sometimes you got to give a translation once in a while. Run your business on profit first, rational, small business bookkeeping. And when your bank requires it, just translate into GAAP and give them their GAAP reports to keep them happy. That's the smart thing to do, not what most people do.
I agree with you. I was just reading Berkshire Hathaway's annual report, which is the letter from Warren Buffett. And he literally in the letter to the stockholders is, hey, this is not GAAP accounting because GAAP sucks. Here's the actual numbers and the way we look at them. The GAP's in the back of the report. So, you know, if a guy's sitting around with a few $100 billion in cash waiting to do something in business can do it, I think we can too.
Well, I would make the argument, and I think this is really important to say, I sincerely doubt, and I don't pretend to know Warren Buffett's business or him, but I sincerely doubt he would have become who he is today if he was using GAAP to get there.
I agree with you. Warren is very simple. Show me how to cash flow, baby. Right? And give me a very high cash flowing business with a big fat moat around it, and life is wonderful. And that's what he goes after. And there's plenty of books on how he looks at financial statements and what he's looking for. And
it ain't GAAP, that's for sure.
Yeah, correct. So one of the things, though, that you say in the book is you don't have to look at the numbers. Is that true?
Right.
But how do you run a business without looking at the numbers?
Okay. Let me be more clear about what I say. Let me clarify. I'm in my wife's office today because of the work being done in my office. If I was in my office, I would be able to show you a map. So think about a map of the earth. Okay? What's at the top of the map?
Santa Claus in the North Pole.
And below that?
Right below it? Is that Canada? Greenland? I don't know.
Okay. And below that?
The United States, unless you're in
and
Europe.
Below that?
Are we going all the way to South America or
let's
South Pole?
All right. Now, let me ask you a question. Why does the map have to appear that way? Why can't America be on the bottom part of the map and Argentina be on the top part of the map? Would it be any less accurate?
No.
Navigators would still be able to find their way around the world. Everything would still work the same way. The perception would just be different, right? So the reason why North America is called North America instead of South America, and why South America is called South America instead of North America, is because someone decided that North would be up here and South would be down here. And that was that, right? Most accountants are what I call numbers people. I am not a numbers person. I'm an ideas person. I understand concepts. I understand ideas. I'm not really that great with numbers. All right. I'm not very comfortable with numbers. If you look at a set of financials, there's a north and there's a south. But the reason why the north is because the financials were designed by numbers people. When I look at a set of financials, I look at the bottom part first. I look at the concepts, the ideas, the assumptions. If the concepts and the ideas and the assumptions, which are written in words, make sense to me, if I can understand the concepts, if I can understand the assumptions, then I understand the business, right? And if I understand the business, then the numbers just support the story. The way most accountants do it is they look at the numbers first, and then they look to see if the story supports the numbers. This is why I am better at finding fraud than most accountants. This is why people who look at financials the way I look at financials can spot problems faster than most accountants can spot problems. Because it's easy to make the numbers line up. if you're just willing to fudge some numbers. It's much harder to make the story make sense if the story is all a bunch of BS. So this is why I say you don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be a CPA, and sometimes not being a numbers person gives you an advantage in doing financial analysis, because you can really you can focus on the notes, you can focus on the explanations, you can focus on the assumptions that everything's based on. And if all of that's a bunch of BS, I don't care if the numbers add up. I know the numbers aren't real.
That's what Wall Street does. Warren Buffett says the real magic is in reading the footnotes, because that's where they hide all the crap. Enron was actually profitable when they went bankrupt. And it was all in the footnotes of all the games being played on the balance sheet. And Mike actually figured that out. Mike is the guy who did the data investigation on Enron. Michalowicz, I didn't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that either. I just saw you freeze.
Keep going. It'll fix it all.
All right. No, I feel like we covered it.
So let's cover another concept, because I was confused about this in the book. You talk about static versus dynamic overhead. I'm used to fixed versus variable costs. Are they the same? Are they different? Help me understand that.
So there's a little bit of false premise in your question. So overhead is overhead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's variable overhead and there's fixed overhead. But there's certain kinds of fixed overhead that is dynamic, and there's certain kinds of fixed overhead that is static. Right? It's a way of understanding the different kinds of overhead. For example, most fixed overhead that's related to marketing or sales will tend to be dynamic in nature. The more of it you add, the more revenues will grow. Fixed overhead that is static in nature, adding more of it doesn't tend to cause revenues to grow. For example, marketing could be a fixed overhead expense. You spend $10,000 a month on marketing, $10,000 a month in marketing, $10,000 a month in marketing. It's a fixed expense, let's call it. Yeah. But if we spent $20,000 a month on marketing, if it was deployed intelligently, we would expect to see a corresponding increase in gross revenue. Make sense?
Totally.
Electricity. Not giving your business enough electricity is going to obviously adversely affect top line gross revenue. Yeah, you need lights to be on. But once you have enough electricity, calling the power company and saying, hey, could I buy some more electricity from you? It's not going to cause revenues to grow. Okay. Furniture, giving someone an uncomfortable chair to sit in, static overhead. Furniture, right? Giving someone an uncomfortable chair to sit in is obviously going to reduce their productivity. But once you've given them the best chair you can find, saying to them, hey, if I give you 2 chairs, will you be more productive? It's not going to make them more productive. Are you getting what I'm saying here? Not having enough insurance is going to adversely affect your business. But once you have enough insurance, buying more insurance than you need isn't going to help you grow the revenue. Dynamic overhead, the nature of dynamic overhead is such that adding more of it tends to cause revenues to grow. Adding more static overhead doesn't tend to cause revenues to grow. You get that concept so far?
I get it very well. So I have a question, because I think this is true of attorneys. They always have beautiful offices because we need a beautiful office, right?
This is exactly where I was going next. So one of the things that you start noticing when you look at this in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses is that static overhead tends to be the stuff that you can see and touch. Dynamic overhead tends to be less tangible. All right. So static overhead is usually going to be things like the office, the furniture, the administrative staff, the sign on the side of the building, all the stuff that your friends and family and neighbors use to judge your success from the outside looking in. Oh, Rocky's doing really good. I drove by his office. He's got that big office with that big sign and all those people working there. And I went inside. He's got all that beautiful furniture. He must be doing great. That's all static overhead. No one is looking at your office and looking at your business and saying, Rocky's doing great. He's spending twice as much money on marketing and twice as much money training his staff so they can be at peak performance and getting really great financial insights into his business because he's investing in proper financial advice. They don't see that, right? And so the person with the weak ego running the struggling business, the first thing they tend to slash is dynamic overhead. And what they should be doing is slashing the static overhead and preserving the dynamic overhead. But they do the opposite, and then the business craters.
It's hard to shift static overhead because it's more emotional choices, moving from a bigger to a smaller office. Oh, I'm such a failure. Or letting go of an employee that is not driving revenue.
No one wants to have that uncomfortable conversation.
No.
There's no fun having to lay people off.
Right.
There's no fun having to tell someone that they're not performing well enough. But this is called being what I like to refer to as a grown-up.
We have to grow up.
Well, you could be a mature entrepreneur. I mean, you could still be fun and a kid at heart, but I mean, you're running a business. Listen, in all seriousness, I know I joke around and I get all histrionic and worked up, but I take this very seriously. I have more than 100 employees whose mortgages, whose kids' college tuition, whose lifestyle depends on me to make responsible, mature business decisions. We've got over 500 law firms that we manage whose owners depend on me to make responsible, mature, grown-up business decisions. I can't let my ego get ahead of these decisions, or hundreds and hundreds of people are going to suffer. So I can have fun and I can joke around and I can have robots and yell and scream and carry on and all that fun stuff. But I take this responsibility to be a responsible, mature business owner very seriously. And I wish more business owners would.
I agree with you, but I think a lot of them went into business to do what they loved, and running the business wasn't on the list.
No. A lot of them started a hobby to do what they love, and then woke up one day and found that they had accidentally fallen backwards into owning a business. And then they wonder why it runs like crap because they never listen. Most business owners do not have any real financial goals that they're aiming towards. They don't have a total owner benefit goal that they're aiming towards. And because they don't have a total owner benefit goal, their gross revenue goal is BS. They don't have a business plan. They don't have a marketing plan with key performance indicators. They don't have job descriptions. They don't have checklists. They don't have templates. They don't have anything that makes the business really work for them. Instead, they take pride in how hard they work and take pride in what long hours they work, take pride in how much they can suffer. And then they go home to their family and say, you should all appreciate me because of how much I suffer for you. Well, you know what? Your family shouldn't appreciate how much you suffer for them. Your family should say to you, hey, learn how to run your business so your business works for this family and none of us have to suffer. Because it's possible. You could do it. Anyone can do it.
That's what we tout in our book, work less. I hate this grinding culture. 10x more work. I'm like, no. 10x less work. How do we make more and work less? Because that's what it's supposed to be about.
My businesses, I mentioned I have several different businesses. All of my businesses together last year grossed over $60 million. I work a lot less now than when my businesses grossed $10 million. And I worked a lot less at $10 million than when they only grossed $1 million. And the worst time ever was trying to get up to $1 million. That's the hardest part of all. The bigger the business gets, the easier it becomes to run if you build it the right way.
As a matter of fact, as soon as we're done, I'm going to the EOS conference to learn more about how to create the dashboards, how to do all of these things so that everything is systematized and runs without you. Because it should.
You have a responsibility to your employees. You have a responsibility to your clients. You have a responsibility to your vendors. You have a responsibility to your investors, who, by the way, is your family because they've invested their time, their energy, their patience in everything, right? You have a responsibility to all of these people who are depending on your business to make it work without you being there, because God forbid something happens to you, they're all going to be screwed, right? I take off for 30 consecutive days away from my business 2 and 3 times a year, every year. And while I'm gone, each of the main parts of the business, they keep going and they keep growing. That's like the hallmark in how to manage a small law firm. We've got hundreds of our members of the law firms that we manage. The owners go away for 30 consecutive days with emergency access only. And while they're gone, the marketing keeps working, the intake keeps working, the legal production keeps working, the staff keeps getting hired, trained, managed, the financials keep, and they get a nice dashboard report while they're away from the business for 30 consecutive days with defined emergency access only, so they can see what's going on in the business and relax and know that everything's under control. And when they come back, things are better than when they left. That's a real business.
That's because the owners are always getting in the damn way.
Well, because if you do this the right way, you leave people with things to do while you're gone and they get them done. And then you come back, and because you were gone, you have perspective. And because you were gone, your mind goes into a creative space where you can then see the next thing that needs to happen. You come back, you see where the next thing has to get done. You create more systems, you give more instructions, you get out of the way and let them build it. And then you come back and you see the next thing that needs to get done. That's how you grow a business.
I agree. I'm guessing what's on the dashboard is KPIs, correct?
Yes.
So what is the purpose of KPIs?
So let me tell you a funny story. I was in my mid-20s and someone said KPIs, and I didn't know what KPIs were. And I had already graduated from law school, by the way, right? So I don't want anyone listening to this to feel embarrassed if you've never heard of KPIs or don't know what KPIs are. I mean, no one's born knowing this stuff. KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. These are the measurements that we use so we can be fair and objective with our employees and manage with objective data instead of managing based on personality. And I don't mean managing based on our personality. I mean managing based on their personality, which is a huge disservice to the employee, right? Because inevitably what ends up happening, every time we go into a business, we always find versions of the same story showing up again and again and again and again. You got 2 different employees. We'll call them Andy and Annie, right? Or Betty and Bob. Say Betty and Bob because it's easier to pronounce. So Betty is, let's say, quiet and humble and demure and not a big loudmouth. And Bob is a big loudmouth who brags about how great he is all the time. And Bob keeps bragging and bragging and bragging to the point where everyone starts believing him. And everyone thinks Bob is so great. And Annie, who just keeps her mouth shut, puts her head down and gets the work done, Betty, I'm sorry, she just does the work, right? And Bob keeps getting raises and promotions and opportunities, and Betty gets left behind. But when you look at the data, maybe you find out that Betty's more productive than Bob. Maybe you find out that Betty's more profitable than Bob. Maybe you find out you want 2 Bettys and no Bobs. Well, how unfair to Betty that she's been looked past and overlooked and passed over because no one was looking at data. No one was using key performance indicators. Turn it around the other way. You got an employee, and maybe you, the business owner, maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe you're in a bad mood, whatever. And you come in and you're like, bah, 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 complaining about everything. Key performance indicators give employees a shield to protect themselves from you on your worst day. Because when you come in and you're like, bah, 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 the employee can say, excuse me, here are my numbers. Respectfully, shut the F up. I'm doing great.
And that's the key. And we don't. And it happens in every part of life. And it's funny, in sports, we do a lot better job of tracking KPIs than we do in business. And it's a game.
And it's a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. A really great book that I highly recommend to everyone is The Game of Work by Chuck Coonran. That is where I first learned to really, really, really embrace this idea of measurement and KPIs.
I know another book that I think you like is Simple Numbers, because I think it was in your...
Love that book.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Greg Crabtree, too. He makes it simple. Yeah. And we have our own version of, but very similar systems to what he does. Is there anything we should have talked about today that we didn't get a chance to?
Where everyone can buy my book.
We're going to
Why
cover
everyone should listen to
that.
my podcast.
We're going to ask where to find you, where to find the book, and all of that, of course. Tell us.
Yeah. So look, if there's any lawyers listening to this, the best way to get in touch with us is literally the same way as everyone else. Buy the book, Profit First for Lawyers. You can get it on Amazon. There's a podcast called Profit First for Lawyers. It's a really fun show. People love it. It'll give you a lot of, look, if you listen to the podcast, which you can download for free, and you hate the first season, you're not going to like the book and you're not going to like doing business with my companies. And you get to find out for free. And we get to find out for free. If you listen to the first season of the first few episodes of Profit First for Lawyers and you like it, go ahead and buy the book, read the book. If you hate the book, you're not going to like doing business with me and my companies, and that's fine. If you like the book, then you'll want to do business with us. And even if you're not a lawyer, the book is not about profit first. The book is written as a rallying cry to convince people who haven't read Profit First that they should read Profit First. And for those who have read it, to give you courage, arguments, insights, understandings, and ammunition to use against all of your so-called advisors who are working against you and don't want you to implement Profit First. So you understand where they're coming from and how to counter all those arguments and give you the courage to say, screw it, it's my business and it's my life and we're doing Profit First. If you call my controller, by the way, right now, Rocky, and you say to him, what happens the first month you don't implement Profit First? He will say, I'll get fired. He knows he'll be fired that month. As much as I like the guy, as inconvenient as it would be for me, he knows that is a capital offense around here.
It works. You just got to implement it. What I find is a lot of people implement and they go, the system doesn't work. I don't have enough money. I'm like, no, the system works. You don't have enough money. Go fix the money problem.
You know, I was living Profit First. I was endorsing Profit First. I was on stages teaching Profit First. And I'm embarrassed to admit that I took my eye off the ball and my team stopped following Profit First. Your team will stop following Profit First the minute you take your eye off the ball. They just will. You think they won't, but they will. And as soon as I put the hammer down and we went right back to Profit First, the problems they were hiding popped right back up to the surface. That's what Profit First does. It pushes the problems that are hiding or being hidden from you. It pushes them up to the surface where you can't ignore them and you have to deal with them, which makes your business more profitable and gives you a better life. It's just uncomfortable for everyone around you, which is why they like to not do Profit First and keep everything hidden under the surface.
Not surprising. That's human nature. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Rocky.
Did RJon inspire you to take action and do something different? If you're a law firm, call him. If you're not, call me. We don't do the accounting and bookkeeping, but I'll supervise them. I'll also supervise your CPA who does your taxes and review them. We want to make sure it's done correctly. Also, I love the concept of static versus dynamic spending of overhead. Let's ask the real question, though. Are you ready to work less, make more, and enjoy your business? Because you don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful. Remember to focus on the bottom line. And of course, enjoy life. Thanks for listening to The Profit Answer Man, where we believe more revenue doesn't mean more profit. And the bottom line is what really matters. If you're ready to stop living check to check, take control of your cash flow, and finally get paid what you're worth, we should talk. We work with 7- and 8-figure businesses and well-funded startups. If you're a smaller business, check out the Profit Blueprint program. It's a do-it-yourself solution that also can come with my direct guidance in the same level we give our one-on-one clients. When you're ready for results, book a discovery call. There's a link in the show notes or at profitcomesfirst.com. you'll be speaking and working directly with me. In the meantime, grab your free copy of the Profit Blueprint at ProfitComesFirst.com. It's the next step to turning your business into a consistent cash flow generating machine. If you'd like to dig more into leading yourself, your company, and building the ultimate life, listen to my other podcast, Richer Soul, where we cover these topics in great depth. There's a link in the show notes. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.